Well, welcome to Hadrian's Wall, in which we're in the bunker and we're fighting off the barbarians in the mountains of Florida. And today we're going to be talking about liberty and tyranny, but we're not going to be talking about Mark Levin.
Not for me. The sickness of the Islamic mind has caused some mullahs to be blind. To justify their prophet, they will justify sin, so the sins of the prophet are repeated again. All over the world in Islamic states, 9-year-old girls suffer cruel fate, sold into marriage to twisted men, and Aisha's sad story is repeated again. Ain't gonna follow no child molester, sex offender, prophet pretender.
The person she is really going after is Senator Lindsey Graham, who said the First Amendment was a nice idea, but in time of war we should get rid of it. Well, it's very interesting, Lindsey, that you are one of the Eastern elites, and we are the people, and we are not giving up our freedom of speech. But here we will begin to see the concept and this woman's rage, which is actually the rage I feel also, toward this attack that a pastor in his private little building cannot burn a Quran if he wants to. There is nothing wrong in a private place of burning something, especially when the American government has confiscated the Bibles in Afghanistan and burned them and said you cannot proselytize. And here we hear from our friend.
Have you not read the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States? Here, let me read it for you. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So what Lindsey Graham wants to do is elevate the totalitarian political system masquerading as a religion called Islam to a status which supersedes and overrides the First Amendment to the Constitution, and thus places it in a position of specially protected legal superiority, wherein criticism of Islam or failure to show proper and sufficient deference and honor for Islamic texts is a crime. You know what that's called? It's called Sharia. What the hell is wrong with you? Free speech is a great idea. It is a bedrock principle of Western civilization and the United States. Individuals are free, sovereign agents. Individuals are not property or drones of the state. The government doesn't tell the people what to think and say. The people tell the government what to think and say through the mechanisms of representative republic governance under the Constitution. But what I suspect this really has to do with is intellectual snobbery and elitism. Lindsey Graham, you look at Terry Jones and you see a redneck with a handlebar mustache who speaks with a southern drawl without the benefit of a fancy Ivy League education. And you determine that a man like him cannot be trusted with his own personal intellectual sovereignty under the First Amendment, and therefore you, in your superior intellectual state, have to rein him in. It doesn't work that way. The First Amendment applies to all American citizens equally. It does not operate on a sliding scale based upon how expensive an education one receives, what one's income is, or whether or not one is invited to Tony soirees in Georgetown. But if that's the game you want to play, that's fine. If you want to go head-to-head with a person of intellectual parity, I'm your Huckleberry. Come after me. Debate me. I stand foursquare with Terry Jones and am proud to do so. Since the free speech in question is by a loyal, law-abiding American citizen against the sworn enemy of the United States and its Constitution, which is Islam, and you, Senator Graham, are talking about pushing back using the force of the government of the United States, It sure sounds to me like you have decided that the United States government is allied with Islam against the people of the United States who do not show sufficient deference and respect for Islam. And don't you dare accuse patriotic Americans who are exercising their First Amendment rights of putting our troops at risk. The only thing that is putting our troops at risk are the suicidal, defeatist rules of engagement which prevent our brave soldiers from actually fighting and defeating the enemy. You hang our boys out on the lines of battle and then refuse to give them ammunition, refuse to allow them to engage the enemy without permission from a flipping attorney, and refuse to allow them to engage civilians while fighting a force that is 100% comprised of civilians. How dare you accuse us of putting our troops at risk? Final quote. So I look forward to working with Senator Kerry and Reid and others to condemn this, condemn violence all over the world based in the name of religion, unquote. I have just one question. What act of violence did Terry Jones or Ann Barnhart perpetrate? Did we kill anyone? Did we assault anyone? Did we saw anyone's head off? What act of violence did we perpetrate? How is burning paper with ink on it an act of violence? This is why we are burning the Koran, because it is the manifesto of an evil totalitarian political system, and it enslaves human beings in a culture of misery, hopelessness, perversion, despair, true violence, and unnatural death. Have you not read the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States? Here, let me read it for you. Congress shall...
It is the duty of Muslims to react. When the holy book, the Quran, gets burnt in public, then there's nothing left. If this happens, I think the first reaction that will follow is that wherever Americans are seen, no matter where they are in the world, they will be killed.
Stand.
The holy book, the Quran, guarantees protection, and being Muslims, we also defend the Quran. If this burning happens, there's going to be chaos in Afghanistan. If we don't defend the Quran, then what else can we do?
If the Americans do this, we won't be able to control our people.
Is